And temporary tattoo sheets will also be handed out in the tattoo community Friday the 13th.
The model at their 3,700 restaurants across the country, fresh food served with a smile at a fair price. And it's the price, whether at Chipotle or anywhere else, customers think about.
Before you take your next bite at Chipotle, you need to know what might really be hiding behind that fresh guac and friendly smile. This chain has faced food poisoning outbreaks, sick employees working the line, and federal investigations that shook the entire company. And some of these dangers could still be lurking today. In the next few minutes, you'll hear about real customers hospitalized after eating at Chipotle, secret cover-ups inside the kitchen, and shocking corporate decisions that risk your health. Stick around, because in just a moment, we'll dive into the 2015 outbreak that nearly brought the entire company crashing down. When most people think of Chipotle, they imagine vibrant bowls filled with colorful veggies, perfectly grilled meats, and that famous guacamole made fresh daily. The brand has spent years crafting an image of healthy, responsible fast food. They call it food with integrity, and millions have bought into that promise. But behind the shiny marketing lies a much more complicated truth. You see, while Chipotle boasts about using local farms and responsibly sourced ingredients, the reality of running over 3,000 locations across the country makes that nearly impossible to guarantee. To keep up with demand, Chipotle relies on a massive supply chain where even the smallest slip-up can lead to dangerous consequences. One contaminated shipment of lettuce, one improperly handled delivery of chicken, or one sick employee can trigger a chain reaction that puts thousands at risk. And that is exactly what has happened multiple times in Chipotle's history. As we'll soon uncover, this carefully built image of fresh, wholesome food has been shattered again and again by foodborne illness outbreaks, internal hygiene failures, and shocking corporate oversights. In a moment, you'll hear about one of the most infamous incidents in fast food history, an E. coli outbreak so severe it not only made headlines, but nearly pushed Chipotle to the brink of collapse. In late 2015, Chipotle faced a crisis that would haunt its reputation for years. It all started with scattered reports of customers falling violently ill after eating at various Chipotle locations. But this wasn't just a few upset stomachs. Health officials soon confirmed what many feared. A multi-state outbreak of E. coli bacteria was spreading fast, directly linked to Chipotle restaurants. In total, 55 people across 11 states were infected, some suffering severe complications like kidney failure and hospitalization. The CDC launched an immediate investigation, while terrified customers flooded hospitals and news stations with horror stories of crippling stomach cramps, vomiting, and dehydration. What made this outbreak even more alarming was the mystery surrounding its source. Despite extensive research, health officials were never able to definitively trace the contaminated ingredient that sparked the crisis. This uncertainty shook public confidence even more, raising terrifying questions about how safe any of Chipotle's food really was. As lawsuits piled up and media coverage exploded, Chipotle's once loyal customer base began to crumble. Sales plummeted by over 30% almost overnight. Investors panicked, wiping out billions in the company's market value. But the nightmare wasn't over. While the E. coli outbreak made headlines, darker truths about Chipotle's internal operations were just starting to surface. In the next section, you'll hear how another outbreak at Boston College would expose even deeper cracks in Chipotle's so-called commitment to food safety. Just when Chipotle thought things couldn't get any worse, disaster struck again. In December 2015, as the E. coli crisis still loomed, nearly 140 students at Boston College fell violently ill after eating at a local Chipotle. Among those sickened were members of the college's basketball team, who were left so weak that games had to be postponed. But this time, it wasn't E. coli. Health officials identified norovirus, a highly contagious stomach virus that spreads rapidly through contaminated food or contact with infected individuals. The symptoms were brutal: nonstop vomiting, diarrhea, body aches, and dehydration. Some students reported being sick for days, unable to even stand. Parents were outraged. News crews flooded the campus, and once again, Chipotle was front and center in a national food safety scandal. But what made this outbreak even more disturbing was how easily it could have been prevented. Investigators discovered that a sick employee had reported feeling unwell, but continued working, likely contaminating the food. This revelation raised serious questions about Chipotle's internal policies and its ability to protect customers. If one sick worker could infect over 100 people in a single day, how many other incidents were going unreported across the country? The norovirus outbreak wasn't just another black eye for Chipotle. It exposed a dangerous flaw in the company's operations, one that suggested systemic problems far beyond a single store. And as you'll see next, these employee-related issues would reveal a much darker side to Chipotle's corporate culture. Behind the counters of Chipotle's open kitchens, where customers watched their food being prepared, a hidden crisis was brewing. Multiple investigations and employee testimonies have revealed alarming hygiene lapses that contributed directly to several outbreaks. The Boston College norovirus incident was not isolated. Sick employees working while contagious became a recurring issue. Former workers described feeling pressure to show up even when they were clearly ill, fearing lost wages or job security if they stayed home. In many locations, management allegedly prioritized keeping the line moving over protecting customers. In some cases, workers were allegedly told to sanitize their hands and continue serving food, even after vomiting on shift. These shocking claims surfaced in numerous interviews and court documents, painting a disturbing picture of the behind-the-scenes reality inside some Chipotle stores. Even more unsettling was how preventable many of these incidents were. Food safety experts stressed that norovirus and other pathogens can spread rapidly when proper hygiene standards aren't enforced. Simple protocols like strict sick leave policies, hand-washing enforcement, and routine health checks could have stopped many of these outbreaks before they began. But instead, cost-cutting, understaffing, and pressure for high-speed service often led to corners being cut. The very workers who were supposed to serve food with integrity were sometimes put in impossible situations, forced to choose between their health and their paycheck. And as lawsuits mounted and media coverage intensified, an even more shocking discovery would emerge. In some cases, managers may have actively covered up sick employee incidents to avoid staffing shortages and bad publicity. As investigations dug deeper into Chipotle's repeated health crises, a troubling pattern started to emerge. It wasn't just that sick employees were coming to work. In some cases, managers were allegedly encouraging it or even hiding it entirely. Multiple employee reports and legal claims revealed that some Chipotle locations operated under extreme pressure to keep stores fully staffed, no matter the cost. When workers called in sick, they were sometimes told to come in anyway, or risk losing their shifts. In other instances, sick days were denied altogether, especially if staffing was tight. Former employees described situations where managers would turn a blind eye to vomiting or diarrhea, instructing workers to simply wash up and continue serving. One former manager even admitted that reporting an illness risked triggering inspections or closures, so it was easier to simply cover it up. These decisions didn't just break company policy, they directly endangered customers. Norovirus and E. coli don't care about profit margins or shift schedules. They spread quickly, often requiring just one contaminated surface or improperly handled ingredient to infect dozens of people. In response to growing public outrage, Chipotle's leadership insisted that new policies were being implemented, including paid sick leave and stricter reporting requirements. But for many consumers, the damage was done. Trust had been shattered, and while Chipotle scrambled to repair its image, the financial fallout was already massive. In the next section, you'll see how these scandals cost Chipotle billions and nearly pushed the company to the edge of collapse. As the outbreaks mounted and public trust evaporated, Chipotle's financial world began to crumble. In a matter of months, what was once one of the hottest brands in fast food became a cautionary tale of corporate disaster. After the E. coli and norovirus scandals hit the headlines, Chipotle's sales plunged by over 30% almost overnight. Loyal customers vanished. Entire dining rooms sat empty. Locations that were once packed during lunch hours suddenly saw business grind to a halt. The stock market responded swiftly. Chipotle's share price, which had once soared above $750, collapsed to nearly half that value, wiping out billions of dollars in market capitalization. Investors panicked, lawsuits piled up, and Wall Street analysts downgraded the stock repeatedly. But the damage wasn't just on paper. The company was hit with multiple federal investigations, including a criminal probe by the U.S. Department of Justice focused on food safety violations. The cost of legal battles, settlements, and new safety measures ballooned into the hundreds of millions. Meanwhile, Chipotle was forced to shut down stores temporarily, retrain thousands of employees, and pour massive resources into damage control. In the eyes of many, the once pristine image of food with integrity was officially shattered. But what's even more shocking is how Chipotle attempted to stage a comeback. As we'll see next, the company launched one of the most aggressive image rehab campaigns in fast food history, spending millions to convince customers it was safe to return. Facing a shattered reputation and billions in losses, Chipotle knew that simple apologies wouldn't be enough to win back public trust. What followed was one of the most aggressive and expensive image rehab campaigns the fast food world had ever seen. First, Chipotle launched a massive national advertising blitz. Commercials aired across TV, YouTube, and social media platforms, showing smiling employees preparing fresh ingredients, farmers picking vegetables, and new food safety protocols being carefully implemented. The message was clear: we've changed. To reinforce that message, Chipotle brought in food safety experts to overhaul its kitchen procedures, redesigned its food handling processes, and introduced new employee training programs. Public relations teams worked overtime to spread the word that Chipotle was now one of the safest places to eat. Even celebrities were recruited to casually mention Chipotle in interviews and social media posts, subtly reminding fans that it was okay to give the brand another chance. Behind the scenes, Chipotle spent tens of millions of dollars on crisis management firms, legal fees, and marketing consultants to control the narrative. Every aspect of the company's public image was meticulously managed, and for a while it seemed to work. Gradually, customers began returning and sales started to recover, but not everyone was convinced. Critics pointed out that while many surface-level changes were made, some deeper systemic problems in the fast casual food industry still lingered. And as you'll discover next, even after all these efforts, Chipotle would continue to face new safety incidents that suggested the danger might not be fully gone. After all the headlines, lawsuits, and public apologies, a critical question still hangs in the air. Is Chipotle actually safer now? The company has certainly taken visible steps. They've rolled out high-tech food tracking systems, partnered with food safety consultants, and revamped kitchen protocols across thousands of locations. Employees now receive mandatory food safety training, and there's a clear sick leave policy meant to keep contagious workers off the clock. On paper, it looks impressive, but reality tells a more complicated story. In 2018, just a few years after their massive overhaul, more than 600 people in Ohio reported falling ill after eating at a single Chipotle location. Health investigators pointed to food not being kept at safe temperatures, and once again, norovirus was identified. That same year, additional outbreaks popped up in California and Massachusetts, including another norovirus case and reports of metal objects being found in food. And these weren't just internet rumors, they were confirmed by local health departments. While the company moved quickly to contain the incidents, many questioned why, after such a catastrophic past, these kinds of lapses were still occurring. The truth is, when a brand grows to thousands of locations, it becomes nearly impossible to control every kitchen, every shift, and every decision made behind the counter. Even with better policies, human error and corporate pressure still play a dangerous role. So while Chipotle may be safer than it was in 2015, it's not invincible. And if this can happen at Chipotle, it raises an even bigger question. What's going on behind the scenes at the rest of the fast food industry? That's what we'll explore next. What happened at Chipotle isn't just a Chipotle problem. It's a warning sign flashing across the entire fast casual and fast food industry. The truth is, when you combine rapid growth, massive daily volume, tight profit margins, and constant pressure to deliver food fast, cracks begin to form behind the scenes. Chipotle may have been one of the most public examples, but similar risks exist in many chains where fresh ingredients meet high-speed production. Think about it. Thousands of employees handling raw meats, vegetables, and cooked items in tight kitchen spaces, often for hours on end. One distracted worker, one shipment mishandled, or one broken refrigeration unit can spark an outbreak. And with so many locations to manage, corporate oversight can only do so much. What's worse is that in some cases, internal pressure for profit leads to dangerous decisions, pushing sick employees to work, cutting corners on training, or ignoring early warning signs to avoid bad publicity. Many food safety experts argue that the industry's race for convenience sometimes puts customers at risk without them even knowing. And while Chipotle's scandals force the public to pay attention, countless smaller incidents happen in other restaurants every year that never make headlines. This is why staying informed as a consumer is critical. The shiny advertisements, catchy slogans, and celebrity endorsements don't always tell the full story. Before trusting any brand's image, it's important to understand how fragile the system really is behind that friendly cashier's smile. In a moment, we'll wrap up everything we've uncovered and leave you with a powerful takeaway you won't forget. If you've made it this far, you're already seeing just how much goes on behind the scenes that most people never hear about. And honestly, this is just scratching the surface of what happens in the food industry every single day. If you want to keep uncovering these hidden truths with us, the stories companies would rather you never hear, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, because trust me, There's a lot more to expose. And if you've ever had a surprising or even scary experience eating out, drop it in the comments below. Your story might be the one we investigate next. So what's the real takeaway from all of this? Chipotle built its brand on trust, on the promise of fresh, healthy food served with care. But behind that promise, we've seen how easily things can unravel. Multiple outbreaks, sick employees being pushed to work, cover-ups, federal investigations, and billions lost in the process. Even after all the reforms, new protocols, and expensive PR campaigns, risks still exist. And Chipotle isn't alone. This story pulls back the curtain on how fragile food safety really is in the fast food world. One careless mistake can send dozens of people to the hospital. One bad decision can cost a company billions, and one moment of blind trust from customers can leave them paying the price. That doesn't mean you have to live in fear every time you order food, but it does mean staying aware, asking questions, and recognizing that flashy marketing doesn't always tell the full story. The truth is, no matter how good the burrito tastes, the real story is often what you don't see behind the counter. Stay informed, stay smart, and remember, the truth isn't always on the menu.